So, to practice today, I would invite you to have a block. Don't have a block, anything will do. And maybe a bit of cushioning in case you need it. And once you've got that ready next to your mat, just starting lying down on the backs. So I invite you to get comfortable there. Let the arms drop. Find some support for your knees if you like that. And coming into a restful position. So what I thought is happening today is, as usual, a bit of core strengthening when we begin to move. We'll also pay attention that what we strengthen, we lengthen. And might even add a bit of breathing at the end. So if you can, closing the eyes. If not, steadying the gaze. Taking a deep breath in. Open your mouth, release the jaw and let the air out when you're exhaling. Noticing if that has changed anything within you. If it did and it's pleasant, you might repeat for 2 more, just breathing in deeply, allowing the breath to exit through the mouth. And after these rounds, whenever you've completed them, just allowing the body to truly arrive on the mat. Coming to acknowledge the breath in its natural way, how it is moving the body, maybe very gently. Feeling into the body and noticing if you're holding any tension at this moment. Maybe when you're taking time to focus on that, you're actually noticing that we often hold tension that we don't even notice, and we're taking that or carrying it all the way through our day. So it might be nice to just soften, to allow yourself to be the opposite from strong, not in a negative sense, but in a sense of softness. Knowing that there's always both, that there's always opposites within us, around us, and they're even there if they're not obvious to us in this moment. So let us play with the opposites a little bit more, as I encourage you to full yogi and core breathing. If you like, Ujjayi technique can go along with that, but for now, breathing in deeply. Feeling belly rising, ribs expanding and up to the collarbones. And then as you're exhaling, drawing on the lower abdomen in the direction of the tailbone and feeling how then belly, ribs and upper chest come back in. You're relaxing that as you're inhaling, belly rising, ribs expanding up to the collarbones. And then when exhaling, drawing on the lower abdomen and releasing very slowly, gradually. So staying with this breath for a little bit longer and enjoying particularly the play of the opposites, the openness, the wideness and the softness that comes with the inhalation, and the strength that you are applying while drawing the lower abdomen in and down, that comes from your belly. So as you allow that breath to flow, and you're using strength and softness, I will introduce today's card. It's again from the Ganesha deck, and today it is the light. We are born with the gift of laughter. Laughter is a natural medicine. While I don't teach laughter yoga, I'm very aware that it exists, and I've had the joy of practicing it a few times. So whatever you're feeling like, and this is scientifically proven, and you start to laugh, you will have an impact on these feelings. And even a fake laugh brings in a certain amount of joy and happiness. Oftentimes throughout the class, I ask people to just smile, whether they mean it or they don't. It's a very similar effect. We're lifting through the corners of the mouth, and there's something that the nerves are then telling the brain that is about more happiness. So even if you're not feeling that happy today, you might take the advice of Ganesha and bring in some laughter into your day. Now you can stay lying down there on your back, and we will remove anything. If you had anything underneath the knees, such as a bolster, just removing that now. And stepping the feet down onto the ground. Bringing now your right knee in towards the chest and embracing it as you're breathing out. So hugging it in nice and tightly. Inhale here. And on the exhale, lift your nose up towards the knee. As you're breathing in, lying down, hands down by the side, foot is flexing. And as you're breathing out, we're extending the leg just above the ground. We've got the left leg here to anchor and stabilize ourselves. Now point your toes. As you breathe in, bring the knee back up to the chest. As you're breathing out, squeeze the knee in using your hands. Inhale, holding here. And exhaling, lifting your nose up towards the knee. Breathe in, lying back down. Flex the foot, arms by the sides. And as you're exhaling, extending this leg just off the ground. Pointing the foot. Breathing in, bend the knee over the chest. Exhaling, hug the knee in, squeeze it in. Hold it in this squeeze as you breathe in. And with the exhalation, lifting your nose up towards the knee. Breathe in, lying back down, arms by the side, foot is flexing, and a breath out to extend the leg out long. We'll do one more. Point the foot. Inhale, bring your knee up. Exhale, hug it to the chest. Hold, breathing in. Exhaling, nose towards the knee. And releasing the upper body back down and releasing the right foot back down onto the mat. Now let's change sides. So bring the left knee into the chest. You could choose an odd interlace now. And as you're breathing out, hug the knee in tightly. Inhaling here. And on the exhalation, lift your nose towards the knee. Breathe in as you're lying back. Flex the foot, arms by the sides, and exhaling to extend the leg, ideally just above the ground slowly. Point the foot. Breathe in, bring your knee up towards the chest. Interlace again, hug on the exhale. Breathe in to stay here. Exhaling, lifting your nose towards the knees. Inhale as you lie back, flex the foot, arms by the sides, breath out to extend the leg out long. Point. Inhale, bring your knee over your chest. Hug the knee in, breathing out. Inhaling here. Exhaling, nose towards the knee. Breathing in as you're lying back. Flex the foot, exhaling, extending the leg out. point the foot. Breathe in, bring the knee back in, and that's our last hug as you're breathing out. And then lifting the nose once more up to the knee. Release the body. Relax the foot onto the ground. Relax the arms away from the body, and if you like, can you come into Supta Baddha Konasana, so soles of the feet touching, knees rolling out to the sides, and we're only here for a few breaths, taking time to notice anything in the body. And sometimes when we're starting in a more gentle way and just stimulating our core, we can feel subtle shifts in energy, but maybe not too much in the physical body. I could be wrong, your body might react differently. Let's guide the knees back up and step the feet a little bit closer towards the buttocks, but keeping them now hip distance apart. The toes are pointing forward and we're bringing the arms back down by the sides. Let's go into a bridge movement. On the inhalation, tilt the pelvis so the spine flattens onto the ground. On the exhalation, squeeze the buttocks muscles and lift the hips up into the air. Inhale here to hold. Exhale to roll the spine back down onto the floor. We'll stay simple for now. Breathing in the tilt. Breathing out to squeeze the buttocks and lift the hips into the bridge. Inhaling at the top of the bridge. And as you're breathing out, rolling back down. Now my hips are going all different directions. Let's see if we can stabilize those. Inhaling, tilt. Squeeze as you're breathing out and almost pushing the hips up into the air. Hold here, breathing in. And then exhaling as we're rolling back down onto the ground. Let's bring our arms in. Breathing in, there's still a tilt. Breathing out as we're lifting. Breathing in to lift the arms over the head. And breathing out as we're rolling back down, the arms releasing to the ground by the sides. Let's go again. Inhale the same tilt. Squeeze as you're breathing out, moving the hips up into the air. Inhaling, extending the arms over the head. And exhaling while we're rolling down, the arms returning down by the sides. We'll do that one more round. Breathing in for a tilt. Squeeze while you're breathing out, the hips upwards. Inhaling, lifting the arms over the head. And exhaling to roll back down onto the floor. Let's change it again. While we're breathing in, the pelvis is tilting, the arms are lifting over the head. And as you're breathing out, lifting through the buttocks muscles, inhaling here, maybe a big stretch and a push upwards. And as you're breathing out, then we repeat, arms and back returning to the floor. Let's try that again. Inhale, tilt, and your arms are extending over the head. Breathing out, squeezing the buttocks up into the air. Inhaling here, maybe for a big stretch. And when exhaling, releasing back down onto the floor. Last round here. Breathe in, tilt and lift your arms up. Exhale, squeeze the buttocks up into the air. Inhale for a big stretch. And as you're breathing out, releasing the arms back down by the sides. Let's open the arms up for a moment. Bring your feet and knees to touch. And let your knees start to rock from side to side. If you're feeling a little bit stuck in the neck, but it's not in pain, roll the head into opposite directions as you're moving. To finish this movement, bring your knees to your chest and give them both a little hug. Then step your feet back down onto the ground. Starting to lift a little bit through the upper body. So we're coming onto the forearms, and I'm just sliding my fingers a little bit under the buttocks or the lower back. I keep my chin tucked in here and looking forward. And from there, take the right knee to the chest. The movement will look familiar. We're extending the leg just off the ground. Point the foot and bring it back in. Now let's do a few more. Extending while breathing out and switching the lower belly on. And inhaling, pointing the foot, bringing it back. Do one more, breathing out to extend. Point, breathing in to bring it back, and step the foot to the ground. We'll try that on the other side. Lift the foot, flex it, exhale, extending. We're looking along the leg, pointing, breathing in, and two more. Engage into the lower abdomen while extending, pointing then as you bring the leg back in. Flex and extend, point and bring it in. Step the foot to the ground. Now, if your neck is a happy one, otherwise, please lie down for a moment. But if the neck is happy, carefully guiding the head back for a moment. So releasing the muscles in the neck. Either coming off the floor or lifting back up. You can choose to go back to the previous version. I've lifted both knees now, flexing both feet, extending the legs out, pointing, bringing them back in. So that's the exhalation as we're flexing to extend the legs, point them, and breathe in to bring them back. Now we'll go for a few more just in case you are alternating, which is the alternative to the stronger movement. And of course, could you keep the legs a bit further away from the ground? Go for two more. Then place your feet back onto the ground. And again, either lie down to relax your neck or guide the chin upwards and bring the head all the way back, allowing yourself something like a really modified fish pose. We will join you if you've been lying down as we release the whole upper body down and give our knees another hug in towards the chest. This time we're using this to start rocking forward and backwards a few times to come up to sitting. Not yours, just rolling over to the side might be a nice one to go with. We'll come to sit on the floor, stepping our feet out in front. And instead of resting on the forearms now, we'll be rest on our fingertips. Now, if you like, you can keep your feet on the ground. We're sitting between the sit bones now, so spine is long. But if you like, you can lift your feet off the floor. The movement hasn't changed. We're flexing the foot and extending the leg. Could be a bit higher this time. Inhale, bend it. Exhale, extending through the other. Inhale, bend it. Exhale, extend. Now, if this feels quite easy for you, and you're still sitting between the sit bones, then you can lift the hands off the ground. Exhale to extend, point and bring it in. I hope you're still smiling because that was the theme of the class. We want to bring in some laughter and happiness. And then pause it. Pull yourself up on the knees, soles of the feet touching, similar to what we've done lying down. This time you might embrace your toes. You might bring your feet in a little bit closer, but let the knees really drop open. Pull a little bit on your feet and sit yourself up tall. And from there, if you like, rock a bit from side to side and find your way forward. If your elbows touch the legs, that's fine. You could encourage the legs to open a bit further if they do. Allowing then after a couple of breaths to also lower the head. Nicely rounded spine. And then curling yourself back up to sit. We'll go for another round here. So I'd ask you to step the feet back onto the ground to start with. To also start again with your fingertips behind you on the floor and to find the space between the sit bones in which to balance. Now it's absolutely up to you to change things around, to step your feet to the ground if you need to, which is from where we will start. So to start with, will we tilt the legs, then extend, bend, bring them back to center. To the other side, extending, feet are flexed, bend, come back to center. Now, of course, your choice is to not even touch the feet to the ground, to bring them into a tiny little boat, then twist, then extend, bend, come back to center. So continue like this. We're twisting, extending, centering, twist, extend, and center. You can't get enough. Take your hands off the ground. It is possible. It requires a lot of balance, even more smiling if you happen to fall back, or supporting yourself again. Go once more to each side. Just that one last time. And then pause it again. Let your legs come out really wide. Keep the hands behind. Push them into the floor and really walk out through your sit bones as if you wanted to come all the way forward, which is your goal. So let's move even further forward, bringing the hands somewhere onto the legs. Keep swaying and reaching for a little while. And I hope you might feel the lengthening happening into the legs. If you need to bend your knees, that's fine too. And in the end, when you feel you've reached your maximum point for now, hold on there, wherever that might be. Relax your shoulders. Take a breath in and imagine you can stretch your spine out long, even within the forward fold, and then use your out breath to deepen the forward bend. And I will invite you to stay with the forward bend for a few more breaths. Now to come out of this, let's wiggle again from side to side and find your way back to an upright position. Bend the knees and step your feet down to hip distance this time. Now you could do the next movement from a full bow position. If you were to do that, you would lie yourself down again, hands over the shoulders. I'm not going to demonstrate that this morning. I think it is too strong for myself, but I think you can get a grasp of where this is going. So if you're doing this, extend into the full bow pose. Otherwise, bring hands or fists down behind you. We'll do that in the tabletop. So feet down, hip distance. We're squeezing upwards, and you can choose to look down to your knees, or you can choose to carefully guide the head backwards. And then whether you're in the bow or in the upward facing tabletop, I encourage you to rock a little bit forward and back. Nothing else. If you need to sit down earlier, that's fair enough. So don't worry about how long to stay in it, really listening into your own body and noticing what feels right for you. So for now, just rocking the body forward and backwards within a bow or a tabletop. We will pause that by lowering the hips down. Even if the head is back, the head will come up almost automatically as we're rising. Now I will ask you for a moment to cross the legs, come into Sukhasana. We've been back bending, so let's bring the hands forward and let the whole body lean forward. It's okay to round the back. I would just ask you to acknowledge how your legs and buttocks muscles are feeling in this stretch. Whether you've really crossed the ankles or you have one leg in front of the other, just notice that. You don't have to change it, but maybe doing the same on the other side if you dare. So we'll walk the hands back again. We'll once again bring the hands or fists behind and the feet down at hip distance. If you're working with the bow, congratulations, this is our second round. So let's squeeze the buttocks, lifting the hips again. Gaze is the same. You can look at your knees or you can lift the chin and guide the head backwards. You could choose to rock again, but what I'd ask you to do here is bend the elbows, lower the hips, and then push it back up. So bending the elbows, lowering the hips, and then push everything back up. So strong arms, strong back, and strong glutes. If it is possible, going for 7, which is our lucky number today. Of course, can you rest earlier if you need to? We're targeting a few more muscle groups all at once. And once completed, I'll ask you again to lower down, and then the head comes up effortlessly. Now, I know by now you don't like me anymore, and that's okay. We'll change the cross of the legs, either fully crossing or one in front of the other, bringing the hands forward, and as you're exhaling, finding your way down into a forward fold. Allowing ourselves a few breaths here, the head can become heavy. Noticing how does it feel on this side. It's usually our less favorite side. We love them both, but one just feels that little bit easier. So as this is the harder one, let's have one big breath and a sigh. Then put a big smile on your lips towards yourself and the challenge that lies on this side. If you're able to now roll over and come onto the forearms, that's fine. If you prefer to swing your legs out, that's fine too. Now, I'm still wearing a long sleeve top. I don't know why I'm so cold. Doesn't matter. If you have long sleeves on, all I'm trying to say is bare forearms will be good on the mat so you're not sliding. Take the forearms down at shoulder distance so that you've got the shoulders basically resting for now over the elbows. Hands down flat is fine, or hands interlaced is good. We will start fairly easy and step the knees back a little bit. And from there, starting to move the hips forward. So we've got a kneeling forearm plank. Try not to let the hips sag down in the direction of the floor. Try and keep them engaged. So to do so, draw the lower belly muscles in again. And then we will have a moment where we're just allowing the hips to go from side to side. Just the hips. Noticing if this feels the same on both sides. We are strengthening the core, but I'd also ask you to really be strong in the arms so we're not collapsing into the shoulders. You've done a few of those.
Let's draw the knees back in, tuck the toes under, and stretch the hips up and back. And I hope you can feel the release here as we bring the weight away from the arms and really stretch out into the shoulders and the heart space too, as that might sink towards the ground. From there, returning back into your kneeling plank if you choose. So kneeling plank, the knees are stepping back again. We're nice and tall. I'd ask you from here to move a little bit forward yet still, and then stretch it up and back. To move a bit forward into a deeper plank and to stretch it back up again. Now, if this appears to be, yeah, that's a nice movement, but what does it do? Then lift your knees off the floor. Come forward and then push up for a dolphin. Moving forward and pushing up for a dolphin. So whichever variation you're on right now, repeating for 5 more. So, or making it 7 if you've been counting. You've completed your 7. I'll ask you to bring the knees back down, keep the toes tucked under, and once more stretch it back, allowing the shoulders to release, the chest to sink towards the ground. No more weight bearing here. So as this was so wonderful, assuming you enjoy it as much as I do, let's lift again. So you can choose to repeat our first movement in this shape as we step the knees back again into kneeling plank and let the hips move side to side. Or you go stronger, lift the knees off the floor, come into a full forearm plank, which means the whole body is in a straight line. And you might have a brief look back to see that you can roll one foot in without touching the other. So they're slightly further apart than usual. And we will roll the feet, both of them, lower the hips a little, lift onto the toes, and then roll over to the other side. So either you're on your knees, repeating a previous version, or you're with me on the feet and you're doing the same thing, bringing your hips from one side to the other. Aiming to do so again for 7 to each side. You've already done maybe 4 or 3. Completing them all before you drop your knees back down and keep the toes tucked under, aiming once more for the stretch out of the shoulders and a release through the chest. We will come from this little rest and lengthening into a dolphin. So you're already in a baby dolphin, but you might want to lift your knees off the ground and stick your hips up into the air now for a change. So we're nice and high, holding here. You might give the head a little bit of a shake, and with that, give it a pause. Now, in this position, you can have a light, very slight bend in your knees, and I encourage you to press down into the whole forearms and see if you can lift your tailbone a little bit further up and back. You will also encourage, with the knees out of the lock, the heels in the direction of the floor. So you might feel less core strength here, but I promise we're working on it. And a lot of strength in arms, upper back, and then length coming in through the legs. If you're able to hold here for 2 more breaths, nothing more, just the 2 more breaths. And once you've had those breaths, if you're able to release the hands and step up onto them. So we're transitioning into a downward facing dog. And then we'll walk our feet forward to the top end of the mat or to our hands, taking a breath in and lengthening the whole spine forward. And then exhaling to fold and let the head relax down. We'll wait for another exhalation, using our core to curl up into standing. Take your time. We've done a lot of work on the upper body. And once you're here, let's move the shoulders and arms a bit. So we're standing. Finally, we've made it up into standing. We'll use a few standing postures to help us find strength and maybe some balance. If you, for in a moment, require your block, just making sure it's somewhere near the mat so you don't have to chase it up. As we are on the very front of the mat, the in-breath comes, we're lifting the arms. On the out-breath, interlace the hands behind your back. Draw down, open the front, inhaling. Then bend your knees deeply as you're breathing out to fold forward, and the arms will be away from the back here. Let's release the hands down, inhaling, half lift. On the out breath now, stepping your left foot back, grounding out through the heel, lifting the arms up, inhale. Exhale, interlace the hands behind the back. We'll inhale to open through the front. And when breathing out, finding a humble warrior, let's release the head. Let the head fall down towards the ground. So left foot is backwards. We're grounding through the outer edge of that foot. And the arms might be away from the back. Let's keep the hands interlaced and lower the arms again. Lifting through the back heel and lengthening towards the front of the mat. Get a little bit of a lift into the torso. Arms might again move away from the back. We're launching this into a warrior 3. Now your warrior 3, we're pointing through the foot, landing it again. Release your arms from behind and either prayer position or stretching the arms forward. Then release the hands to the mat. Step it back for a downward facing dog. Let us go through a vinyasa. Find your way so you can always drop the knees down if you like to be more supported. Your normal vinyasa, wave up into cobra or up dog, and then taking it back to a down dog. Deep breath in and maybe a sigh out. Now take a breath in and lift your left leg. On the out breath, step the foot forward between the hands, taking your block. As you've got the block into the hands, the other hand is on the floor. Let's launch the right leg up, flex the foot for a half moon. Start to open through the hips, and if you dare, start to lift the hand off the ground. Either to bring it into your side or to extend it straight upwards. This is again a different variation of entering this pose. So notice how much strength do you require just to get the hand off the ground or just to turn your body a little bit. We will release that now as we're placing our foot next to the other and retreating down into a forward fold. Breathing in, find a half lift. Breathing out to fold again. Bend your knees a lot. We're arriving in a chair pose. So inhale, lift the arms, and exhale, settle. Let's push into the floor. Inhaling, lift. As you exhale, interlace in the odd way behind your back. Lengthen the arms down, open the front of your heart as you're inhaling. Bending the knees deeply, and on your out breath, folding again. Arms might be away from the back. Let's release the hands down. Breathe in for a half lift. And when you're exhaling, stepping your right foot back, grounding through the heel. Let's lift the arms, inhaling. Odd interlace again, preparing for humble warrior. Inhale, lengthen down to open. And out breath as we bring the shoulder towards the inside of the knee, arms lifted away from the back. Head is low. We're grounding down through the outer edge of the back foot. Humble warrior. Let's release the arms onto the back. Lifting the heel, turning, reaching forward. And then if you can, arms away from the back, lifting the leg up as we're playing around with the warrior 3. Point out through the toes, land the foot, hands to prayer or arms extending forward, arrowhead lunge. Then place your hands back down, step the foot back, downward dog, and take it into a flow. So your choice of moving from the knees, your choice of cobra or up dog, and meeting again in down dog. With the next breath in, lifting the right leg. On a breath out, bring the knee forward, land the foot forward. Now we'll take the block again as our helper or whatever you're using. Have your fingertips down, lift the back leg, flex the foot. So that's already strong. And then try and peel the fingertips off the floor, either to bring the hand into the side waist or to extend. Keeping your gaze down or even lifting the gaze for a fuller expression of the pose. Then step your feet parallel, release down into a forward bend. Bending the knees again deeply, sweep along the floor, preparing for a chair and sit deeply into your chair pose. On the hour, breasts folded forward. Now taking your block or replacement of such and bring that in between the thighs. Squeeze it there tightly. Lengthen the spine again and reach your arms forward once more. So we're coming back to the chair. I'd love you to be tall, proud, let the shoulders relax and maybe turn the palms upwards so the shoulders can really soften. And then squeeze the block in between your thighs. Inhale. Exhale, see if you can keep the squeeze and move a bit lower. No stress in the upper body. Inhale, lift again. Exhale, lower again. Keep squeezing into that block as you bounce, just that tiny movement, a little bit up and down. One more. Then remove the block and bend it all the way forward. Placing your left hand into the center and take a breath in to lift the right. You can bend your left knee and fully extend through the right leg if you like. Bending both knees, swing your arm down. We'll change the hand in the center and breathe in as you're lifting your left arm and the right knee could bend while the left leg might straighten. Both knees are bending. We'll swing the arm back down, releasing head and neck. and then coming all the way down to sit. I will ask you to go from sitting straight back down to lying, but we'll do a few more movements, postures, and then trying to leave some time for a bit of breathing. So while you make your way back down onto your back, have everything ready you might need for your relaxation, but step your feet back onto the ground first of all. So what I'd ask you to do is place your right hand behind the head first. We will bring the left knee in towards the chest, and we will bring the opposite elbow in the direction of the knee. Now my head here is free, I'm not pulling on it. While we are extending the leg out through the heel, we're opening the elbow. So we're breathing into the twist, and we're breathing out for the extension using our lower abs. Inhaling for the twist, exhaling for the extension. Stay with this movement. Keep your head supported with your hand, so we're not stressing out into the neck, but don't pull on the head either. Only 2 more. After which you step your foot down, lie the head down, right arm is extending, you feel into that beautiful imbalance that we've created, and then you place your left hand behind the head. Again, bring your knee up towards the chest, and then bring your elbow in the direction of the knee. Make sure that you're starting it correctly without a pull on the head. Flex the foot. You're breathing out, extending the leg, opening the upper body. We're breathing in for this pointed elbow to the knee. Exhaling, open. Inhaling, twist. Your extending leg can be a little bit higher than mine, as you would have figured out by now. Two more. Pointing as you bring the knee up and flexing the foot as you're extending. Releasing after the repetition onto the ground, allowing the arms to be open. And if you like, you can come back to Supta Baddha Konasana, touching the soles of the feet together, letting the knees fall out towards the sides. Let your shoulders soften, maybe closing the eyes. Few deeper breaths in and out. Would ask you then to bring the knees back up, to take the hands behind the head, and to lift the knees all the way up towards the chest. Keep the knees nicely squeezed and rock them then from side to side. I like tucking my knees up towards the armpits. That's an out breath, and the extra tuck will give you a bit of core strength into this releasing movement. Once more now to each side, if you are with me. Before we will release the hands from behind. And maybe take a hold of the legs. If you know that's the backs of your legs, if you know you're quite flexible, you could instead reach for a pistol grip of your big toes and aiming then to extend your legs upwards. So either you're holding onto your big toes, onto the backs of the legs, or the calves, wherever feels right. Make sure the shoulders are at ease. They might be a little bit lifted, that's fine. And that the heels are pointing upwards, so to target a stretch into the backs of your legs. From this place, could you come straight into Shavasana? If you want to do that strongly, bring the arms by the sides, flex your feet once again, and lower both legs down. You feel that in your back, just bend your knees and release them a little bit earlier. Finding then your Shavasana pose. So let the body relax. Noticing everything that shifts itself into place. Noticing that you might even experience a bit of length coming through the belly muscles or even the hip flexors. Allowing your breath to soften even further, to become that soft stream of air that you might not even notice if you're not bringing your attention to it. But we do want to pay attention to the breath, to keep our mind centered and to invite this softness that the breath has on offer. You might even choose to have a subtle smile on your lips today while resting here, thinking of Ganesha and his delight. Laughter can be helpful in ways you might not have realized or imagined. A simple laugh can help you feel better about yourself and the world around you. If you are looking at situations too seriously, try to find some humor. This will remind you to stay centered on what is and to be grateful for what you have. Laughter can be a natural diversion and can help to break up stagnant energy. When you laugh, no other thoughts come to mind. Laughing may also induce physical changes in the body. After sharing some laughs amongst friends for only a few minutes, you may feel better for hours. Now, if you currently don't have any friends, as we are still in a bit of confusion, I mean, coming to your house or you going to someone's house, maybe a nice idea to put on your favorite comedian, watch a comedy or something that leaves you laughing so the belly starts shaking. That might be your goal for today or this week. I will ask you to deepen your breathing a little bit and to find your way with movement and stretching to a seated position. Now, my intention is to let you leave this practice today with a little smile on your lips. If that's not quite successful, not just spark that little smile, that's fine too. But what I'd ask you to do is rest your hands down once you're seated. Maybe support your seat with your block or cushion and sit nice and tall. So the shoulders can ease themselves back into the sockets. And the closest breathing technique that comes to mind towards laughing is actually Kapalabhati. Now, if you've got any high blood pressure issues in general, this might not be yours. I think you can still practice it very slowly, but not in its fastest expression.
So if you're not too sure what I'm talking about, it's the lower belly that's pulling in as you're sniffing the breath quite quickly out of the nose. So just the lower abdomen, that's we practiced at the beginning to activate this. But here it's a quick one, so it looks a bit like this. So I started very slow and then went straight into very fast. And there's a lot of different paces in between these two. So I invite you to start this with me, but to have it at your own pace. So we're sniffing out, belly draws in, the rest happens automatically. That's the in-breath and the belly relaxing. So just think about your out-breath and pulling the belly in. Let's start with an in and an out-breath and then begin the technique. You could have your hands on your belly as you do so, just so as a reminder which muscle groups to use. You can go faster or keep it slow. Eyes might be closed now. Go for a little bit longer. And then release the technique. Again, deep breath in and out. I'm just noticing what's happening. Even if you don't feel like you've been laughing, which I don't expect you to, you might still feel what is left from this technique in your tummy area. And that feels just as if you've been laughing so hard that might bring back that memory of laughing. So let's put our biggest smiles on, touching the hands together in front of the chest and acknowledging each other's smiles with a bit of a bow. Namaste.